What's up everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is Sheena with Crooked Calligraphy. So have you ever bought a new calligraphy ink and you're all excited to try out this brand new color, except when you use it, it's all liquidy and watery and doesn't quite work with your nib? That sucks. So in today's quick video, I'm going to show you how to fix it. So, how do you know if your ink is too thin in the first place? I am going to give you a demo with this lovely blue ink. You can tell just from the consistency. So the type of ink that I like to use for my pointed nib, this is a Nikko G Nib, is about the consistency of, I'd say like heavy cream, somewhere between whole milk and heavy cream. This ink is already looking way more liquidy than that, but the real way that you can tell is just by the way that it flows off of your nib. So you can see that the ink is already starting to feather a bit into this paper. So this paper is premium 32-pound laserjet paper. It holds up to all of my other calligraphy inks really well, but you can see here because the ink is a little too liquidy, it's already sort of bleeding into the paper. It also has sort of rushed out of my nib a little fast. You see I had to like re-dip quite frequently, and the hairlines are also not quite as thin as with my other inks that I prefer to use. So as a comparison, I have done that second test using Sumi ink, which is my favorite go-to black ink, and you can just see how crisp the hairlines are and how clean the downstrokes are. There's no feathering and no bleeding, and you can just tell, right, that the Sumi ink is more clean and crisp than the ink on top. So that's how you know that this ink is too liquidy. So how do we fix this problem? Because this is a lovely blue and I'd love to use it in my nib if possible. I usually turn to gum arabic. So you can get it in powder or liquid form. In this case, the liquid form would probably be a little bit easier to use. The key is to go slow, use it a little bit at a time, and just keep testing with your nib to see if it's the consistency that you like. I have powdered gum arabic on hand, so that's what I'm going to use. So let's see how it works. So I've mixed a tiny bit of gum arabic in here, and I'm just going to test it out and see where we are. Okay, so it's gotten a little bit better. There's a little bit less feathering and bleeding, but the hairlines are still pretty thick. It's still flowing out of my nib fairly quickly. It's just not quite there yet. So I'm just going to add some more gum arabic and then we'll test it again. Okay, getting a little bit better, but I still think we need a bit more gum arabic. So again, I'm just going to keep adding it and testing it. And here is a close-up of the final result. So you can see that it went from really bleeding and messy and blobby here and sort of just got kind of gradually better until we get to this, which is not as perfectly, crisp and thin as these hairlines here on the Sumi ink, but is totally fine, flows well from the nib, and has a really beautiful saturated blue color. So if you ever get ink that just turns out to be too watery or liquidy for your pointed nib, just try adding some gum Arabic. And add a little bit at a time, because you can always add more, but you can't take away. And I recommend mixing up your ink in a separate little jar so you don't sort of ruin the whole batch on accident. And you can work with even inks that don't seem to work on your pointed nib.